Hey folks, Malforian here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, a bit of a discussion slash Malforian rambles about Crusader Kings 3. I no doubt put a clickbaity title like, are you playing Crusader Kings 3 wrong, or something like that, and the TLDR to that is, no, however you enjoy playing the game is the right way to play the game. Like, if you like playing tall, if you like roleplay, if you like mods, if you like 100 stat manning every character you have, however you want to enjoy playing the game is the right way to play the game. I'm not here to tell you how to play it, not at all. But I've been seeing some comments recently, especially around the dev diaries that we've covered recently and on my new series that I've been doing on the channel, the Sardinians, about, I think, getting like the most enjoyment out of the game. Like, you can play the game right, but is it necessarily the most fun you can have? And a lot of the comments I've seen, especially on Reddit and places like that as well, is, well, the game's super easy. The game's easy. You can just stack the same stats every time and you can just win the game every time. And it's not difficult. The game's too easy. Why isn't the game harder? You can always make the same decisions and you always win. And, you know, that is the case in 99% of games, let's be honest. But in Crusader Kings 3, I don't know, I guess I kind of find it funny when people say that, because as a famous YouTuber once said, Crusader Kings 3 is a role-playing game disguised as a map painter. That was One Proud Bavarian. I'm sure you all know his channel. It's a fantastic channel. If you don't, for whatever reason, covers Crusader Kings and a lot of other games. And I agree with it 100%. And from my point of view, again, I'm not saying you're wrong if you don't play it this way. I think you get a lot more out of Crusader Kings 3 if you do roleplay in some fashion. I think if you just come at the game as if it was Civilization, EU4, Hoi 4, even Victoria 3, these games where you play as a country, I think if you come with that mentality to Crusader Kings 3, I'm not saying you can't enjoy the game, as I've said before, however you enjoy playing the game is the correct way, but I do think if you come to the game with a little bit of roleplay, you would enjoy it more. Or maybe you won't, but I would say if you've never done it, give it a try. Because I see comments, as I said, saying like, why would you ever take the bad option? For these new harm events, like, why would you ever choose the third or fourth option? The second one's the best. I'm always going to take the second option. And I think that goes kind of against how, I'm not going to say how Paradox has designed the game, but with the stress system, I think they have tried to push players more into a roleplay style of playing the game. And that's not a hot take. I think they even talked about that in the dev diary where they talked about stress back in the day before the game came out, that they wanted to get people to play the game more as that ruler and less as that country. But they did bring in the ability to reset your perks and everything, which means you can basically just always play the same character and stuff like that, and just concentrate as the country if you really want to, and kind of reduce the role of your leader in a way if you just always choose the same perks and things like that. Again, not to say that's a bad way of playing it, but I think that's why they designed it that way. Yeah, if you've ever been on the channel for any amount of time, you'll know when I do campaigns, I never reset my perks or anything. I always play characters as I get them, and ever since I started to play the game, I think a little more roleplay-y, if that's a word. I think I've enjoyed the game, not a lot more. I've always enjoyed playing Crusader Kings 3, but I think I definitely prefer playing Crusader Kings 3 to Crusader Kings 2. There's less content. We're not going to get into that argument in this video. There's obviously more content in a game that had, 25 DLC than Crusader Kings 3 does, but I think it's a lot easier to roleplay in CK3 than CK2 because there's less traits and the traits are a bit clearer. I think I find it a lot more easier to do it in CK3, and I think I enjoy playing the game more because I do that. Like I say, some of the comments in my recent videos just made me think of doing this video today, just to really say, like, if you've never done it, give it a try. And one of the comments, I'll put it on the screen now as well. Somebody made a comment, it was Tavern, and after reading through the story that he gave in there, I really did think, like, there's a lot kind of ignoring the traits and the way your character's built. I think the game gets very samey, and as people say, oh, it's easy. Whereas if you do play as a certain character, follow their traits, I think it just spices up campaigns. So, as I say, I'm going to read this out, and it's an awesome story. Hopefully people will read this, or maybe watch this video, and play it this way once or twice and just see if you enjoy it. I was playing a campaign as the de Hauteville family in southern Italy, and I think I was playing something like the 10th generation at that point, and we'd formed the Kingdom of Naples and controlled parts of Greece, North Africa, and the West Mediterranean islands. When my character became king, I celebrated by throwing a tournament, and during the tournament melee competition, even though I had prowess of 48, which is pretty impressive, there was an accident, and he took a warhammer to the throat and killed him on the spot, right in front of his 8-year-old son, who I then became, and then he role-played the kid being traumatized from watching his, Herculean father get murdered in front of him, kind of Game of Thrones style. He developed the traits Shy, Paranoid, and Craven, which was perfect. I'm sure if you're 8 years old and your father gets killed in front of you at a tournament, you're probably going to have some effects on you. As he says here, seeing his father get publicly destroyed kind of messed him up a little bit. He also had events that made him zealous and callous and pretty much stressing him out to level 3 during the entire gameplay. The only thing that would de-stress him was torture and execution of non-Christians, which was insane. Not something Tavern wanted to do. But if you're role-playing a psycho tyrant, well, then you've just got to become the Butcher because you're kind of playing that and that's what happened. Weirdly enough, he ended up forming an empire, the Neapolitan Empire, but at the age of 42 had a complete nervous breakdown, abdicated his throne to his much braver and far more charming son, who became Robert the Maul for his sheer devastating ability with a warhammer after his glorious victory at the Battle of Gadalakia. A warhammer that killed his grandfather, and how it came round in full circles, I suppose. And in this battle, he destroyed the Mongol invasion of Greece, because if you played the game since the DLC came out, the Mongols get pretty far these days. With an army of 48k, he defeated an army of 67,000. When the battle was done, he'd lost 45, and the Mongols had lost nearly 40,000. On my tour I took of my realm after the war had finished, I encountered a character who claimed her father, brother, and husband all died in the battle that had happened. So I gave her money and a position at court, and she eventually fell in love with me and became my mistress. This is why I love this game, and anything to add more realism and life to the place is more than welcome. So, I just wanted to read this out because it's an awesome story. I think I commented on it. This is an awesome story because role-playing the game made this happen. Having that high prowess, getting killed, and you have a son who roleplay as Shy, Paranoid, Craven because he watched his father die, and then you don't usually like killing people, but he just murdered people because that's the only thing that brought his stress down, because he became zealous, and obviously killing people who are not your faith if you're zealous reduces your stress, I believe. All this craziness happened, and then his son took over. He was more of a heroic character. He did this massive war. Anyway, I just thought this was a really cool story. And as I said, I'm sure Tavern here will always remember these characters because he roleplayed them in this way. He could easily, with the son, just re-rolled his stats, made him a high prowess martial character, and just carried on playing the same way as his father had played. And then his third character would have basically been the same again. High martial, I would presume, with those victories. You would have enjoyed it. As I said, I'm not saying you wouldn't enjoy playing it, but you wouldn't have had that cool kind of interaction where one of your characters was like a bad character. I see this comment on Reddit like, oh, this character's a bad character. No one would ever play him. Why not? Play a bad character. Play him badly, and you can have some fun. As I've said, in my recent campaigns, we've had events happen where I've taken the wrong decision because it is what my character would do, and it's made for cool stories. It's made for interesting things. This is a slight spoiler for the Sardinians campaign that's on the channel at the moment. If you're not caught up to where we are at the moment, there are some mild spoilers here if you don't want to get spoiled. But we ended up playing as a first heir who was a terrible character. And there were comments on that video saying like, oh, you should just kill him, or you should have him disinherited or something like that. Why are you letting him become your next character? And I've said in the videos and I've said in the comments like, oh, well, I play the game in this roleplay style where the first character we had was chaste, he was compassionate, he was brave. He wouldn't kill his son or disinherit his son just because he's a bad character. So we're just going to play it out. And if he dies before I die, but if he doesn't, we're going to play as our first son because that's what happened in history. Like, I'm sure there are, obviously, times in history where people got knocked off because the current ruler knew they'd be a bad ruler. There's also many stories in history of just bad people becoming kings because they were next in line and they were terrible at it and it caused issues, but it made history. And that's why I play this game that way, because coming back to the Sardinians, we played as our second character was Callus, and I don't enjoy the intrigue tree in this game, but ever since I've started to roleplay the game a little bit more, I enjoyed it a little bit. Like, it's fun. Sometimes, we're playing this character who's Callus. There's a knight getting attacked by wolves. He's going to die. He says, hey, can you help me? And we go, no, bye. And we just walk on. Or there's peasants come up to try and get things. And in the event, you can just say, run them over. And you just run them over, basically, in your horse and carriage, I guess. And yeah, those are decisions that I wouldn't usually take. But on this Callus character, we do them, and we've had some cool events. We've had some other cool stuff where we've had house feuds and things like that, and gone down paths that I would never usually go down because we are playing the character that way. And very much like Tavern's character here, like, just had adventures that we wouldn't usually do. Maybe it gets you to play the game in a way you don't usually play it, or maybe you just see events slightly differently because of how that plays out. And I don't think that's, like, the wrong way to play it. I see comments again about, like, oh, well, you built this or you did this certain action. That's the bad way of doing something. And yeah, it is, but also makes a more interesting story. Like, I'm going to remember these characters, not forever, but in a couple of years, I might still remember, like, oh yeah, remember that character I played where there was an easy crusade to be had and we could have got loads of stuff, but we were cynical, so we didn't go on crusade. Instead, we attacked the Pope whilst he was away on crusade or something, because he was a cynical character. And yeah, we lost that war because it was a stupid idea, but, we were brave and cynical, and, that's how it went, and we lost, but 100 years later, our character was really good, and he attacked the Pope and won, and that was kind of revenge for the previous generation's mistake, or something along those lines. Yeah, in a long, rambling way, guys, basically what I'm saying is, if you're playing Crusader Kings 3, and you see comments about, like, oh, the game's too easy, you can stack stats, you can always do the same thing and you'll always win. I'm not saying you're playing Crusader Kings 3 wrong, but what I would say is, give roleplay a try, because I think you'll enjoy it. And I'm not saying you will enjoy it, maybe you won't enjoy it, but I think you would enjoy playing it and just seeing the stories that you get into and seeing the outcome of it. Maybe you won't hit what you want to do, but maybe you'll find an adventure that isn't what you wanted to do. Maybe you'll find something totally different. Maybe you'll be playing a non-zealous character, but you'll somehow do well in a crusade. Your nephew becomes king of a Crusader state, and you get the option to play as him, and he's a zealous Crusader king, and you go, do you know what? Let's give it a go. You play as him, and then during that guy's life, you basically just go on your own mini crusades to expand, the realm in heathen lands or something like that, which is, I'm sure, what many of you do anyway, but just little things like that, I think, make the game more exciting and more interesting, and tell more stories. And I think that's what makes Crusader Kings 3 probably my favourite Paradox game. Like, I enjoy all the Paradox games. To go off on a little bit of a tangent here near the end, I know it's been a very rambling video. I don't expect this video to do well at all, but I just felt like talking about it today, so hey, why not? I think it's my favourite Paradox game because if you roleplay the game to any extent, it makes it more interesting. You aren't always going to win. Or you aren't always gonna, maybe you will always win, but you're not gonna get to that victory how you think you're going to. I've told this story before many times on the channel, especially when I used to live stream. I used to really enjoy playing Civilization, and then I realized that if you know even remotely how to play the game, you always win. Like, you pretty much always win. It's very hard not to. If you play on the very high levels, yeah, sure, you can make a mistake and something can happen, but it is very difficult to lose in that game once you know how to play it. And I think the thing I like most about Paradox games is they're generally built in a way that you can have the perfect plan and then something goes wrong and it's no longer a good plan. I've had series like the Rise of the Habsburgs. If you've not seen it, some mild spoilers, I guess. In that, we were doing quite well. I think we had like 2 or 3 duchies, and then we had a run of bad things happen, and we went down to having 1 county. And I think a lot of people would have just quit playing and just gone, well, I'm just going to restart. I'm going to build the Archduchy of Austria. I'll just restart and we'll do it correctly this time. But I didn't. I just carried on. We went down to one county. I think we almost nearly lost that county as well. It was almost like full game over. But we fought our way back. And some mild spoilers, we ended up founding the Archduchy of Austria and much, much more in that campaign. And I'll remember that campaign for that reason. It didn't go how we thought it would. I ended up getting to where I wanted to, but not at all how I thought I would. And I enjoyed it more for that reason. And again, that is why I think I enjoy playing Crusader Kings 3. It's also why recently I played Stellaris on the channel, and I think I enjoyed that more because I played it the same way as Crusader Kings. I role-played as the empire we were. It's a little bit different because you are playing as an empire rather than a king or a duke or whatever as a character in Crusader Kings. You are playing as an empire in Stellaris. But again, I think you get more out of Stellaris if you roleplay as that empire and choose the wrong decision if it matches what your empire is. And I think that's why I don't like playing Hoi 4, or to be honest, I don't really enjoy playing EU 4 anymore or Victoria 3, because I think it's hard in those games for me to not just play the correct way, and then you generally can always win because you just always play the same way and you can just win because you know what the AI is going to do most of the time, and it's not that difficult to work around them and just min-max your way to some extent to what you want to do. That's why I always come back to Crusader Kings 3 in my own time as well, because it's just always different stories, and you can have the best laid plans and then you take a Warhammer to the throat. It's all done. And you can do the best eugenics program to make the best character, and then he dies of cancer. And people just restart the game or reload it, and that's fine. Like I say, if you enjoy doing that, fair enough. But for me, I'd just be like, well, that was bad news, bears. I'm going to play as the second character and just see what adventures I can get up to. But anyway, on that point, this has been 20 minutes of me rambling about Crusader Kings 3. If you've made it to this point, I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. Do you play the game in a role-play manner? Do you just min-max? Do you re-roll your characters every time you get a new character after your actual main one dies? Or do you roleplay? What's your favorite kind of random thing that's happened that's made you enjoy it maybe more? Or maybe it stopped you playing it that way if you've had such a good character and then he's died from a random event and it's kind of annoyed you to the point where you're like, no, I'm just going to reload now. Tried doing it that way, but it just isn't going to work. I'm too mad now. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. It'd be interesting to have a chat with you all about kind of how you play it. Like I say, there's not a wrong way to play it. That's not what I'm here for at all. However you enjoy it is the right way to play it. But yeah, give it a go if you never have. Let me know how it goes. We'll leave it there for today. Hit that like. If you're new here, I usually have slightly more structured videos. Hit subscribe, though, if you have enjoyed it today and you're not already subscribed. And I'll see you in the next one.